Join Built.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning points with your rent payments today.
I'd never heard of that. That's a brilliant idea.
That scheme is crazy.
If you think about it, because I've asked people, I know we all have rewards cards, where we get the points. But there are a lot of things that you can't put on there, and I think rent is one of them. Mm-hmm. So that this exists so you can actually get points for the cash you spend on rent, which is going up by the day. Kudos to Built for thinking of that, because that is I wish I'd have thought of that.
That's a crazy
good idea.
Scheme.
It's also a good idea to talk football with Leroy Hoard every Wednesday, and shout out to us for bringing Leroy on. Leroy, we finally got a win this Sunday. It's a victory.
Yeah,
week,
but I want to argue with you guys for your last point. There's one minor detail you failed to mention.
On what point? Remind us.
That on the quarterbacking point.
Okay.
That causes that makes it easier for these teams to make these decisions, right? They have not paid a quarterback more than $20 million. Now look around the league. There's guys getting 40, 50 million. Those decisions are going to look different than what San Francisco's decision is, who has a starting Pro Bowl quarterback making $900,000.
No, I know. Can I ask you a question on that though, Leroy? Because it's a great point. You can't. I mean, to me, the contract is the elephant in the room. But
right, the $230 guaranteed. You want to make that thing work.
I get that, Leroy. But here's where I have a disconnect with that way of thinking. It's not my money. It's not G's money. It's not your money. It's the owner's money. And he's going to have a lot of buyer's remorse with every weekly check that goes out of his account into Deshaun Watson's account. But at some point, and I asked this question on the show 2 weeks ago, does he have a pain threshold when he absolutely can no longer keep up this charade of paying the man, on average, what does it come out to be? $60 million a year? $50 million a year? Like at some point, you would think if it's $50 million a year, let's just break it down. He's paying this man $1 million a week, even in August, even in March.
Right.
Check. $1 million, Deshaun Watson. At some point, I always equate this to why you wouldn't want to buy a boat and finance it. Because in February, that check's going to be hard to write.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting anything out of it.
You can't be on that boat.
So, right. Leroy, I'm wondering, at some point, didn't you think that there was going to be a pain threshold that was exceeded when he was writing that $1 million a week check, and he was finally going to say, you know what, this is madness. He's not going to be that guy. I got to swallow this and save the fans from any more heartbreak. No?
I'm going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
It's like last week when I mentioned Deshaun Watson has open guys down the field. Mm-hmm. They ain't running a different offense. How all of a sudden the quarterback had 330 yards passing? You know why? Because in both Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston, they are guys that throw the ball down the field.
Yes. And they're not afraid to throw it.
They're not afraid to throw it down the field. Now, the thing with Jameis is he's prone to turnovers. And that was one of the things that terrified me. But I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to backtrack on what I thought last week.
Wow.
Okay.
And that is this. I'll take the interception.
I will too.
Right.
I will too.
I'll take them.
Preach. I'm with you.
You know, and understand this. From a football perspective, football is the only 100% sport. It's negatively reinforced on a daily basis. So I don't care how good you are, how good you've been, a coach will stand up in front of everybody and always talk about what you have to improve on. Mm-hmm. He will always talk about the things that you missed on. So my mindset at that position is thinking of Jameis Winston and the mistakes that he could make. But then I saw last Sunday, and I'm like, I'll eat it. I'll eat them. I'll eat them picks like that crab.
Imitation crab.
Yeah, You know, so it's and you know who had this theory? You remember the greatest show on turf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would always say we don't care about picks.
Yep. Because we're gonna hit a lot of home runs too.
Right.
Them is punts.
And so
that's a punt.
It's a hard thing being in a football locker room to have this attitude. But after watching the Browns the first 6 weeks and then seeing that and seeing what if there were a couple of picks in there? I can live with that.
Yeah,
we gotta live with
agree.
it.
And what's interesting, if Hamilton catches the surefire pick, the entire game is flipped, and the narrative is different.
And I'm still saying the same thing.
I agree.
I'm still saying the same thing.
Yes,
because I can say without a doubt, if Deshaun Watson was the quarterback, he ain't even looking down the field to make that throw at the end of the game.
Not a chance.
No, he don't even see that.
No, he takes a sack.
And so
don't see that.
And I don't know. And we've seen quarterbacks get this way, and I don't know what happens in their mind, what happens mentally, because you know what I call it? I call it the Derek Carr disease. Right? Go look at his stats. You know, he played a couple of years in the league and he had a completion percentage of 70%. So, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I hope he makes, and I think maybe, and look, you're never too old to get better. But it's something about gunslingers that you're going to live or die with it. And
now,
guess
let me
what?
ask you this, Leroy.
I'm ready to live or die with it.
See, I am too, because we also saw the upside of it. It's like playing cards. You decide when you're going to take your chances, but you have to take your chances, so you take them strategically. But the reason I'm okay with it, if you would have thrown interceptions on Deshaun Watson, I wouldn't have been okay with it because he didn't give you the upside home run shot. Mm-hmm. So if he was 11,
he wasn't taking chances down the field.
No, but see the difference is, and obviously interceptions can never exceed touchdowns. That's when you have a problem. Right. Ask Tim Couch. Right. But when he was in Tampa, he was very much this guy. He was the guy that would go up and put a bag of money on black at the blackjack table and say, let's go for it. And so what you get is 4,000 yards passing. You get 35 touchdowns. And in his case, you might get 33 picks. Now, it can't be that close.
Yeah, can we get 20? 20
yes,
picks?
He
is the 35 touchdowns.
Wait.
19 picks?
Hold on. I know this stat because he's the only one to do it. 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 30 picks. He's the first 30 for 30 guy.
That's crazy.
They can make it 30 for 30 about that.
Yeah, right.
They could.
Right.
He is. And guess what? Right now, I take it.
Because it's exciting to watch.
At least it's enjoyable.
Yes. I tell you what, every time that ball go in the air, everybody on the edge of their seat.
Hey.
But here's the thing. I'm not going to just minimize what he did. He was very accurate. He made some tough throws. He was throwing it over the top of the short guys and underneath the deep guys. He was pinpoint accurate, except for a couple of throws. But, hey, guess what? Guys, that's why they play defense, because they can't catch.
Exactly.
Let's not make it sound like they out there like wide receivers. Like, why are you getting disappointed? If you could catch that good, you'd be a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's what I said Monday.
Leroy, let me ask you this. How long – we talked about it before we was on here about the thoughts of maybe him being a long-term answer. How many games you got to see it from him before you even have that thought process? How many games in a row
3.
you got to see? Okay.
3. If I see consistent – because here's the deal. If I'm going to sit here and tell you with Deshaun Watson, I watched the film and I watched the All-22 and see guys open, multiple guys on plays, and then another guy comes in and takes advantage of that. Think about this. It ain't the coaching. They coaching up some good ass plays. Right? It's the execution. So now you got a guy in there that can execute. And like these coaches have to be sitting back going, this is what we wanted to see. Right?
Yeah, just like we were.
Like, and think about this. Here's what sucks about football. We have a saying. And that saying is the streets need a body. Anytime you have some kind of failure, the streets need a body.
Right.
So they make a move to try to appease you when that might not even be the real problem. Mm-hmm. So Kevin Stefanski gave up his play calling duties for somebody else to call the same plays. They have success, and now we're going to say it's Kevin Stefanski calling plays. You see what I mean?
Well, the interesting thing is, though, but you could also say it's Jameis Winston executing those plays.
Right. That's my point. Like, we want somebody to pay for our misery.
That is true.
But we're not, we're so upset about it, we don't really care why it's happening. You see what I'm saying? You don't care. What's the real reason behind this? What's the real reason behind? Is it play calling? But he gave up play calling, and now they have some success, and everybody's going to say, woo! See that? Kevin Stefanski was calling bad play. No, it's still Kevin Stefanski's offense.
Let's split the credit pie here, okay? Because you know offenses. And we asked this question a little bit, but differently on Monday. If you're going to split the credit pie, how are you splitting what Ken Dorsey brought, and how are compared to what Jameis Winston brought? Who gets more of that credit?
I'm going 75-25
to the quarterback.
Yes. You know why? Because they've been running the same plays all year.
Yeah,
they've been running the same plays all year.
The trigger man was just pulling the trigger.
He was just throwing the ball down the field.
That's it.
Pressure in the deep. And you know what's going to happen now? Now Chubb is going to be able to eat.
Yeah, because the defense is going to have to
now they're going to say,
back end.
Oh, right. So now I put 3 wides out there, right? When Deshaun was the quarterback, they'll say, 3 wides, we can still stay in our base defense. He ain't throwing it deep. And we can load up the line of scrimmage.
And that's what they did.
But now I go 3 wides with gunslinging Jameis, right? And now Chubb is going to get a little more room because they might have to go to nickel. Mm-hmm. They might have to go to dime. So, like, there's a lot of layers to this, but more importantly, none of this happens. None of this without Jameis. None of it. You can put whatever twist you want. There's guys that had big games, but they've been running them same damn routes all year.
Yeah, I might even go more than 75-25.
You could. I'll go 20 because here's why I go 25%.
Okay.
Because I've played in games where we were having success and the coach was on it. That means every adjustment, every alternate play, every combination play, it seemed to work. Mm-hmm. So that means the coach was on it too. So I'm not just going to dismiss that the play calling didn't play a good role because, look, defenses aren't stupid. When you have success on a certain play or a certain route, then next time you line up in that formation, they're going to try to defend that route because they don't defend plays. They defend positioning on the field, right? Now, as an offensive coordinator, if you change it up, move the parts around a little bit, either run the same play or run something different than that, I like to call that the old Eli Apple move, right? You run 3 slants on Eli Apple, the slant and goes coming, buddy. Right?
Yeah, no,
there's no secret. That we all know that throughout the league. So, it seemed like the offense from the play calling to the execution was spot on. Being that the coaches were making good adjustments, the players were executing, the ball was being pushed down the field, And like I said, there is no other quarterback because of the way they've been playing or the way I've seen them play this year. At the end of that game, there's no other quarterback on that roster that's even looking down the field like that.
Yeah, we talked about that. I thought his brightest moment, Dorsey's, was calling the deep ball right after he threw the ball right at Hamilton. I'm not sure Kevin Stefanski would have dialed that up, and we still don't have clarity as to whether or not that was his first read or his second read on that particular play.
I mean, if he wide open, it's your first read. Like,
The one point that I would make here, too, just to add to what you guys have said about Jameis, and he's made such an impact, is that I think his ability to stay in the pocket and play the quarterback position from the pocket, as opposed to being so happy and and I hate to denigrate Deshaun, but Deshaun saw ghosts every time he's out there, and we all wanted to blame the O-line, not enough protect. Well, what happened in a week?
Yeah. Exactly.
All of a sudden, he had – I saw a stat from our buddy TA, who's an analytics guy, talk about the amount of time Jameis had in this game was in the top echelon of the league this Sunday.
Dustin, I don't mean to –
Yeah, go ahead.
That stat was wrong. They miscalculated it.
Okay, that don't even matter. Let's go off what you watched. He had the eye test said he had all day.
He was willing to stand in there and not bail.
Yeah.
So that they calculated it wrong, and then Leroy, I want you to comment, and then we're going to bring Sean King after, but he had 2.41 seconds in his time to throw. This was Jameis on Sunday. It was the quickest time of a Browns quarterback this season. He also averaged 2.5 more yards per target in the air than any Browns quarterback this season. So he was getting it out quicker, and the routes were being run deeper, which goes to show that he was connecting when the guys were open, playing the time.
And he played the plays from top down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's what that also means. That means that in all those discussions during the week and during the year, when they're talking about how they want to run a play and where they want to look for a play, Jameis was on it, right? He didn't see other things. He was focused on what the play entailed and what he had to accomplish on that play. And it just seemed like he had a lot of time, and it seemed like he was comfortable when it could have been something as simple as his eyes were where they were supposed to be. And give him credit for this. Jameis has always thrown for a lot of yards. So let's not make it sound like he found something.
Right.
Let's not make it. The reason why Jameis Winston is not a starting quarterback in the NFL is because he throws the ball to the other team. That is it. Now, we felt the same way with Joe Flacco. At least I did when Joe Flacco came in. And Joe Flacco started launching it down the field and like, whoa, we like this. But I will say, here's what makes it so much different. You can get another 3, 4, 5 years out of Jameis.
Yeah.
He's 30.
So you could get more than that.
I'm just being.
No, I understand, but 30 in quarterback years is like he's a pup.
Well, I'm just saying for the purposes of where the Browns are.
Yeah.
You think you could live with this for another 3, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
Tell me in 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's my point. So right now, here's what I would say. I would say Jameis is at a job interview.
Yep.
And they done already told him, if you don't screw it up, it's yours. Here's the other thing. It ain't going to cost you $50 million.
That's right.
So guess what? Listen, Jameis, just keep it 2-1. Just 2-1.
What?
Give me 2 tutties for every pick.
I'd take that.
32 and 16. I never thought I'd say this because as an offensive player, what is a killer of all offense? Turnover.
That's it.
But watching that game and watching him push the ball down the field and watching how happy everybody was, I'm like, well, who cares, man? Like, go ahead and throw a pick or two. I'm good. I can't believe I'm saying this. Like, as an offensive player, there's nothing. You know what it feels like? It feels like the guy who strikes out 200 times but hit 35 home runs.
That's it. You're right. You live with the good. You take
your
the
batting
bad.
average is 200. Your batting average is 200, but you hit 35 home runs, and for some reason that matters now.
No, Leroy. It feels like this. It feels like you get the divorce going on the first date with somebody else, and you sit down across from them and they say, "Hey, how was your day today?" You'd be like, "Oh, hell, listen, I'll take this one. This will work for me. I just want to go on a couple more dates. It'll work."
Hey, Bush, I'm going to tell you like this, though. I'm going to keep it real with you. They don't have that little test period in relationships. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, we can tell, I can say to Jameis, if you can hold down the fort for the rest of the year, this job is yours.
Right.
Try to tell a woman that. What's wrong with you?
You gotta hold it. You gotta hold it down 3 more.
Yeah, you're gonna get slapped right across the face. Hey, I'm gonna date you through Christmas.
Hey, hold it. Hey, hold it down.
If you can continue to be this way until the playoffs, look,
we're gonna
might have to
up to
make this
Christmas.
long term.
Hey, you make 3 more dishes like that, boy.
No more football to relationships analogies. Leroy makes a fantastic point. Leroy, I have to ask a favor. Can you stick around? And the reason I ask, Mikey's got to do a read, but we're bringing Sean King on. Sean has been joining us once a week, and I just think it would be terrific to have you and Sean on at the same time.
We were in the same city.
Well, let me do a read.
Then let's do it.
We'll let
Can
you
you
guys
stick around?
address the fact that you didn't hit him up, he didn't hit you up, but I have a feeling this might be the best segment we've ever done on UCSS.
It's got the makings.
We got a huge Cavs game tonight. They're taking on the Lakers. We'll have some pregame, some postgame coverage. Jason and I did an Ultimate Cavs show yesterday, previewing the big game, LeBron and Bronny's homecoming. You can check it out on our YouTube page, and we'll have some, like I said, pregame, postgame coverage of the Cavs-Lakers contest at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse tonight. Game tips off at 7 o'clock. Make sure you guys check it out. And with that, let's do a little 2 pros at once. We got a former professional running back, a former professional quarterback, Sean King, Leroy Hoard. Let's talk Jameis and the Browns, guys. How you doing?